Perfect. Thank you, Marshall. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the October 15th, 2025 CalPads Q&A. My name is Paul Higgins. I'm a data analyst working at CSIS supporting CalPad. Let's see. For announcements, as you may or may not know, Fall 1 kicked off on the 1st. So 2 weeks ago, we started Fall 1. We are in the middle of our, what is it called on the roadmap? We're in our data population stage right now from the 1st of October through the 7th of November. We're supposed to be submitting and posting all of our data files, getting them into CalPads, making sure that all of your data exists in CalPads, and then we move on to resolving the CDDs, the certification errors, any anomalies, those kind of things. And we're expected to be error-free by the 21st of November. So just before Thanksgiving, we want to see everybody error-free and working right towards getting LEA approved in early December. So if you can keep those milestones in mind and stay on track, of course, the service desk stands ready to help you get through whatever you got. So let us know if you need assistance. Let's see, I don't think we had any new flashes, but Flash, what was it? 314, I think, was finally posted. Yeah, 314 from September 26th got posted, so it's available now. I don't really have anything else. Angela, did you want to talk about the build, or did you have anything to chat with the group about?
We did have a release going yesterday. The active and known issues are up to date. A couple of big fixes went in. The one where students who exited on census day were not being counted on several reports, that is fixed. And the 16.21 is fixed as well.
Very good. Thank you. Does anybody else have anything for the group? CDE, I know we're short some SPED staff this week, but Milo is here with us.
Yeah, I have an announcement. We have the last and final CalPads Virtual Special Education Data Fall Roadshow, and that is next week on the 22nd. And registration is open, so I'll copy in the link to the chat. Here it goes. Yep, that's our last one. Virtual one. So it'll be recorded for reference and posted on the CSIS YouTube channel once it's ready.
Very good. We'll add it to Marshall's work list. All right. Thank you, Milo. Sean, do you have anything? You good? All right. Let's move on directly into Q&A. Starting out at 301 with Bhavita, Q1. In the valid code combo document, what does the Y, N, and U mean in the meets UC CSU column and NCLB column? If I recall correctly, that means that those specific course codes are hard-coded as either yes, they meet the UC CSU standards, no, they don't meet the UC CSU standards, or it's unknown and I'm not sure, I don't recall exactly how that gets declared one way or the other, but it's yes, they are, no, it's not, and we don't know. Yeah.
For if it's a college and career course, though, too, the UCCSU, if they have the U, it can be defined by the College Board, but you need to check your school's registration for that via their page.
Very good. Thank you, Sean.
And my pleasure.
Q1 from an anonymous participant at 301. What is the status with the CalPass Plus submission? Is it still ongoing? Is it still an ongoing data collection?
I'm not familiar with that collection. Sean, are you?
I don't recall that off the top of my head either. I was trying to look what Paul was typing in. And yeah, I don't recall that one either. Wait, if you click on the top, yeah, what's it say?
This one, Untitled?
Uh-huh. No. Oh, it's opening the doc, sorry. It's a pathway, so that's CTE.
I don't know that this is what.
Can we control F for CALPADS? Oh. K-12 funding. Yeah. You may want to put in a ticket, but I don't think we're going to be the correct office for sure. But we're to direct you. If you put in a ticket, we can respond back to you.
Looks like Terry also responded saying CalPAS has been going through a transition process and requiring a new MOU. It's for secondary education submission for all finalized CalPADS data. She also
Alex,
included
right
a
there where you're
CalPAS
driving,
Plus.
the assembly bill. Yeah, I was like, it looks like it has an email or contact information for them. Is it that one, the website at the top that it's telling them to go to? Oh, I know what this is now. It has something to do with courses, and schools use it now that I recall. And it's not, yeah, it's managed by the chancellor's office, not by CalPADS. And so it's similar to like CCGI, but in the fact that for this one specifically, you'd need to be able to reach out to them. So if you want to visit that webpage that's at the top, the Data Vista website, I would recommend that.
All right, thank you, Sean.
Welcome, my pleasure. It's been a while since I've seen that one.
Moving down to 302, Natasha Q1. We have a student with disabilities who has a reportable incident during the summer extended school year. The data guide instructs us to create a secondary enrollment in order to report the incident. Shouldn't the secondary enrollment be created at the district level?
No, it should be at the school where the student was enrolled in for summer school. Because it would be different. That's why you're creating the secondary enrollment, because it would, if they're enrolled in their home school, then you just report the incident. And then if they're enrolled in another school for just ESY, then you would put that school as the secondary enrollment. And you don't have to put like the span of time, you can just put the date of like the incident.
Perfect. Okay, moving on to Joanne 302 Q1. Sorry, question 1. Are there any Fall 1 data discrepancy fatal errors that have not been enabled but will be enabled soon?
A great question. I asked the same question myself and I was told no, but I'm looking at the backlog now and Audrey's right. The only one I see that's still pending, we're switching that plan 726 error from an input error. It's going to be a fatal data discrepancy now, and that's the one where it's missing degree of support field.
All right, thank you, Angela. Appreciate that. Bavita 30. Nope, I'm sorry, Bavita, that's your Q2. Moving down to Rebecca 305 Q1. If a pre-K student age 3 is found eligible and participating for SPED services, but the parent declines services and the student is unenrolled after census day, will this still count in Fall 1 and end of year since the student is still showing eligible and participating, or do we need to send up a an SWDS record to show that the student has exited, and if so, with what SPED exit reason?
Hi, Rebecca. So this one, yes, you would have to send up a SWIDS status of not participating. So Audrey, I see your response and it's consistent with our guidance. The file submission scenarios would help provide more detail in reporting these, the SWIDs and the non-participation status. So I think 22 would be the closest non-participation status to the situation.
Scenario, which one? Sorry, Milo.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying the non-participation
Oh,
reason code 22. So depending on the situation, you would use that 22 non-participation reason code. There's quite a few examples. So if you do like a search and see what 22, if you do a search for 22, you can see the different ones. Like this one's a special education. No, not that one. Yeah, I think this one is probably the best one, part C to B transitions. Or there's maybe another one too. But yeah, oh, I see Brian's comment here. Okay, thank you, Brian, for that. He says, in order for the SWIDs 2 to be on the 16.22 report, the N470 aligned with the SWID's effective date is needed. So yes, that is correct, Brian. Yeah, Audrey has good feedback as well. So if you have any additional questions, please send in a service desk ticket or an email, and we could provide you further guidance on that.
All right, thank you, Milo. Moving on to Soraya 307 Q1. Hello, our team is still hashing out this, so this question may be abstract, not fully coherent. Well, welcome to my life. Apologies in advance. For Fall 2 reporting, we understand that our SPED staff assignments monitoring will be tied to Fall 1 degree of support. So for students with disabilities at our schools, does this mean that our students with disabilities must be rostered to be SPED staff members via course in order for that monitoring to occur? Will we have related follow-up questions on the next few OH sessions as well? So thank you in advance for supporting us through this reporting update. All right, so all on
So
to
that's
Grape's
a
Corner.
yes, specifically for the OHVI HI courses that are new. It's in the flash. And yes, students should be rostered to those course sections. And the reason why is just as you've identified, is because of their primary exceptionality. And so in order for CTC to be able to match that teacher's credential, they have to be able to see the students and validate it and see the student exceptionalities and validate it against the teacher's authorizations. So specifically for those courses, yes, it is required. For the other support courses, like such as your English learners, any of your like specialist program courses, we do recommend it. It is not required at this time, but we do recommend it, and we recommend it again for those same purposes. So your HR teams don't get back the CalSAS misassignment, which ultimately end up with like your monitoring authorities as well too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. 308, Denise, Q1, is there any ongoing issue with the plan 619F1? I have several errors, but cannot seem to pinpoint what is causing them. These students have plan files and indicate an updated program setting for the student who is 5 in TKK setting. All right, and it was plan 619.
This error will often trigger when you send an amendment or you wait for a new meeting. Often you have to amend the existing record. That's something to look for when the student started TK and turned 5. Those two conditions are met. Often you have these persisting records because the record needs to be amended, but you hold a meeting and update the new record, but the existing record is still, not compliant.
All right, thank you, Nate.
And Paul, I think you missed Heather Nichols' question right above Denise's. I don't know if it is not on the
Oh.
screen for you anymore.
Oh, boy. Oh, there it is. Scrolled up. Sorry, Heather. 306, Heather. Hi, Heather. Q1 from Heather at 306. Getting back to you there. One of our districts has a student who turned 18 and enrolled in an adult ed with a T260 exit. They later graduated from the adult ed. The data guide says to change the original exit to the date they graduated adult ed and use the E23250 coding. Does extending this exit date require a corresponding stats data? And will this help improve the grad rates?
I'm sorry, what? That was lengthy. It's on the answer column already, right?
No, it's just in the Q&A. 306, Heather's question.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought it was one that we accidentally missed. My bad. What's a T2? Can somebody tell me what a
Transfer to an
T260?
adult school, and it's not considered a dropout, Heather. That's just an other transfer category. So your second question there that Paul didn't get to yet, it doesn't impact your dropout rates, changing it one way or the other.
And if they graduated with the adult diploma, it's not going to be an E23100. And those are the only things that are actually reported out in the cohort rate as graduate completers. Everything else, the other transfers, the, whatevers, they all just get reported as non-grads. So everything in those other buckets on the cohort report are just there for LEAs to digest and understand what's happening with their students if they're not graduate completers.
We didn't answer the STAS
No,
portion.
yeah,
though.
we're looking at the stats right now, or at least I am. I'm looking for it.
Do they need the attendance record for it? No, well, if you're not re-enrolling the student, is what I'm hearing. You're just updating it, correct? They're updating the prior year record?
It says to change the exit date as well, right? I think is what the data guide says. The exit date and the exit reason once they do graduate to E230, 250.
But they can only extend the exit date for so long. But that's what I'm saying. So they can only extend it up until 6:30. And they're not basically re-enrolling them for the 25-26 school year. Am I understanding that correctly?
That was my understanding of the reading of it, yes.
And
Whoever's
so then it wouldn't
driving,
affect the STAS.
go to headings and then appendix D or C at the very.
Oh, I found the answer. It's in the validation itself. So no if you have the student graded as AD, Heather, it won't trigger the SCNR 718 error. It only triggers for TK through grade 12. So no STAS for adult ed students.
Perfect. I like the simple answers, even if they take forever to find.
Thank you, Angela.
And-
Thanks, Nate.
I have a quick tip too for Denise on that Plan 0619F1 error. I see a lot of times folks, they're looking at their more recent plan records, but when you get the DD error, click on the view. When you see the error, click on the view section and it'll actually show you which plan record the error is occurring for. Because a lot of times I think folks say, I have the plan all updated and everything, but the error is actually occurring on an older plan record. So by clicking on the view, you can see the start date for that plan record. So that's where I usually catch a lot of them that haven't been updated, but they're still in the criteria for the
Yep. I'd say that's
error.
probably the most common reason for somebody putting in a ticket, Gary. They're looking
Yep.
at like the most recent plan record and
Yep.
not the one that the error is triggering on. And so that view button will give you a clue on which record is actually triggering the error.
I agree as well. All right, so we're going to close out the 619 question. Already talked about that. All right, Rebecca, I see your Q2. Kevin, 316 Q1. Any updates on running data discrepancies at the SELPA level for all districts rather than having to run one district at a time?
I thought we previously answered this, that since SELPAs can change, it won't, Kevin, sadly, it won't be able to happen. And it's due to SELPAs can change, but typically districts don't. And so combining that data for us, there's no like a set standard there for it. So for that reason, we wouldn't be able to do so.
All right, thank you for that. All right. Cheryl, 319 Q1. Are there still issues with report 16.21? I am seeing students listed 3 times for the same overdue meeting or the same overdue meeting type. Students who should be included and are not. All right, so all we see is the current fix up on the screen. I do not know of any known issues being investigated on 16.21 currently. So if you are seeing something abnormal, definitely report it to the service desk, including specific examples of what you are seeing and how it deviates from what you expect to see. All right. Becky, 321 Q1. I see that there will be another EDCS data pull on October 31st. Will this be a replacement file so I can submit for all eligible records that include the new additions? If I recall correctly, the EDCS file is full replacement, so you just send up a full file each time and everybody gets updated.
The date for 25 has already passed though, so the qualifications are for 26 though, correct? I don't have a digest. Typically Wendy puts it in the digest. Yeah, so in the digest, it says it. There are the 3 remaining dates. The data will be pulled from the education EDCS for Sunbut's administration, October 31st, November 26th, and December 31st. critical in checking for data accuracy. That's all that I've got though. So the date hasn't passed? Yeah, that was what I was reading. So, but since it says for the 2025 some bucks, I think we're still good. Okay. Thanks, Alex.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for that little deep dive into the CalPADS Digest. All right. Moving on to Larney 324 Q1. After the cohort data pull on August 17th for the dashboard, do the 15.1 and 15.2 reports in CalPADS continue to update, or do those reports no longer get refreshed? I know that current year and future years remain running. I assumed that the closed years ceased to run and freeze with whatever they were reporting.
That's true, but can I add a caveat to that,
Yes,
Paul?
please,
Just for
'cause-
so they do stop running on the date pull, except for 24-25. We ran into a little bit of an issue that we found a bug really late in the game on that cohort report. And so we ended up running a few days over for the 24-25 cohort. So the cohort pull for that one was August 20th, 2025. But that was an unusual circumstance. Usually it's the whatever we tell you the pull date is, that's when it stops running.
Perfect. Thank you, Angela. Laura 328 Q1. Is the Plan 729 F1 validation a new one for this year? I'm not seeing it on the 17.3 error list for the Fall 1 tab. And the link to the error information on the data discrepancies page says that the page has been removed or is not available.
So good news, the 17.4 just got published. So it should be in the user manual now too, Alex, if you were to search for it.
I'll refresh.
Yeah, you might need to clear your cache. I thought Kyron said, didn't we see post that in
Yeah.
the chat? We had a little bit of a
Oh,
delay. We typically try to get that out for you by Tuesday morning, but that one we ran into a snag. So is Kyron on?
He must be frantically working on the user
Yeah.
manual.
Can other people get it? Maybe it's a personal issue with me.
No, I just had a ticket on it. I wasn't able to get it either. That's the
Oh.
one where it's an invalid DSEA for students enrolled in a court community school or juvenile court school. They must have the COE's county district school code in the DSEA field. And so the ticket I had, they had just a regular district. They didn't have a COE as the DSEA. That's why they got the error, but then they wanted an explanation of why they need to have that. So I escalated that to the SPED office. Sorry, Milo.
Yeah, I saw that one. So we're in discussion about that
Okay.
to escalate it to Brandy.
And you're not alone, Alex. I just searched myself and there's no entry for it.
Yeah, at 1:48, he posted in our group chat,
Mhm.
I'm about to deploy airlist 17.4. So maybe he's still doing that. I just assumed it was done by now. So keep an eye out. That should be coming very soon.
All righty, moving on to Cindy at 328 Q1. If a student is being reported as homeless, can the LEA leave the address, city, state, zip code field blank? Will this cause any errors in CalPAD?
They were supposed to use the school address.
Yeah, that was my
Well,
understanding.
it's a local decision of whether or not they want to use, families have an option of using a different address. They might have again, depending on your local practice, they might have an address to use the school address and then in order to use the district address. However, you're funneling those through, and then also take in mind like Sunbucks cards and qualifications for those. So whatever your district best practice is going to be able to provide the family with either necessary documentation or access to needs that they can readily do so.
All right, thank you. All right, Divya at 334 Q1. If a TK student exits and does not re-enroll in another school, what is the best code to be used? Oh,
Why
I'll
did they
be going
exit?
to the,
Is it E450? What's the age cap on that one?
Yeah,
is it 6?
can't remember if it's 5 or 6.
All right, well, there's the list of available exit codes for TK students in
50. It's not
CalPADS
there.
that,
Yeah. So then
so
it would go
yeah,
to why did the student exit then? Yeah,
yeah.
thanks, Kareem and Charlene. Yeah, the E450 is for
Yeah.
preschool only. So
Yeah, that
Divya,
other E400, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's probably the one I was thinking of because that's age 6, right? They don't get counted
Mhm.
as a dropout if they're
Right.
under age 6. Thank you, Kareem and Charlene.
but
Okay.
I would say why did they exit though before you just put the E400? Do you know if they went to a private school? Is there some investigation that needs to occur reaching out to the family? I understand that they're not age eligible for compulsory education, but if you can have a cleaner answer, your LEA may want to develop a practice on it.
Fair point. All right. All right, hitting my Q2s now. Going back up to Bavita at 303 Q2. If a preschool student is taking speech services at their DOR, district of residence, and coming to our district for Head Start preschool program, how do we enroll the student in CalPADS for Sunbucks purposes? The other district enrollment is in CalPADS as the primary enrollment.
So I see that it referencing CalPADS for Sunbucks purposes. Is Paula able to address this one?
Are you able to tell them who's the lead for the school? And then I can gladly address who the Sunbucks is then, Mila.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the reporting data for students with disabilities scenarios, and it looks like let me see. So are they attending the preschool program and getting attending there for majority of the services and instruction? Because I'm trying to see. Head Start. I was looking at scenario 8 for reporting scenarios, and it shows receiving Head Start program. And then I was also thinking about number 7 because one is the service provider. So Usually the LEA is only a service provider, they don't need to report. It would be the preschool in which the student is attending for a majority of the instruction.
But it sounds like they're not providing IEP services to the student. They're just providing that's what I'm understanding.
Yeah, because it says, well, they're only taking speech services at their DOR, so if it makes me think like the closest scenario would be 7 for that one.
So
This
who's
is LEA. He is a
Marshall,
service.
Brandy just joined if you wanted to make her co-host as well.
Oh, okay.
because if
Hey,
so,
Randy. Yeah.
whoever the primary enrollment is basically would then report the student for Sunbucks. The secondary enrollment would not report the student. So that's why I was asking who would be whoever the primary is here. That's who would report the student for. They can report the student for Sunbucks because they basically own the record and the SSID for that student during that time period. If it's just a preschool program student that your LEA is running, then they would report the student and the preschool system for CAFSTAC. But I don't know who your primary, and I know Brandy's just coming in, so if we want to put the question back up or read the question out to her so she can see it and maybe provide some support.
Sure. What's the question?
Let me just.
All right,
So,
so I'll read it out to you. Q2, if a preschool student is taking speech services at their DOR and coming to our district for Head Start preschool programs, how do we enroll the student in CalPADS for Sunbucks purposes? The other district enrollment in CalPADS is the primary enrollment.
Okay, so all right. Well, I can tell you that for purposes of special education, we are saying that the primary enrollment should be where the student's actually attending, not receiving services, right? It should be at Head Start preschool program. And Sean, so what I heard you say was the Head Start preschool program, the district where that program is, that's where they need to be enrolled for Sunbucks. Is that what you're saying?
I was saying whoever is the primary enrollment, that's who would report the Sunbucks for the student, but I didn't know who the primary enrollment was going to be. So you answered that part. It was a tag team question. So so then, as Brandy said, then the Head Start would be the primary enrollment then that you are reporting CalPADS, and that's because Sunbucks isn't reported in CalPADS. Sunbucks is reported through the EDCS system. And so that's who would put in that SSID number and identify that student for their Sunbucks eligibility then.
All right, thank you. That was comprehensive from multiple people. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's close that out. All right, moving on to Rebecca's Q2 at 3:09. I probably won't be on the call anymore once you get to this question, but maybe you can update it on the homepage of CalPADS. When will Plan 726 be activated? Monday, we were told it would be activated Tuesday, but I'm still showing it in status of inactive in the online troubleshooting in the header of that error.
I just checked. It's the developer just checked it in, so it's gonna get passed over to the tester. So it looks like it's on track for Tuesday.
And there we go. I'm not sure what this comment means, but did
That's
you
about the TK student that left.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, Alex, Q1 337. Last week I had an error, SENR 0269F1. When I checked this morning, it was gone, and I see the status is inactive. Do I have to worry about this for fall 1?
You do, and it should be active. I think this is one that just didn't get updated yet today. But what happened, and Paul, I think you were out while how this went down, but it wasn't an input validation at 269, and we converted it to a data discrepancy. But we also made a tweak to it so that this one will not trigger if it's a student who is eligible and participating, students with disabilities. So those kids can have a grade level that is outside of their designated for the school for now. So for this school year anyway.
And then
All right,
there's
fair.
I don't think the flash has come out for that one just yet, right?
I don't know that I saw a draft flash for that piece of it.
Yeah, that concerns me. I thought you saw it last week, Angela. No. Okay. Okay, I'll check with Paula.
All right, moving on. Susan, 337 Q1. I had to step away from the Zoom to take a call. How can I access the recordings or answers to the Q1 questions asked before 328? Marshall will be processing this call in the coming week or two, and then it will be published on our YouTube training page, which you can see Alex is leading you to right now. And then from in there, you do search using the lower search button instead of the top one, because if you do the top search button, it's going to search all of YouTube. But if you do a local search for just Q&As, you'll come up with a list of active Q&As there. All right.
Can I
Yes, please.
maybe suggest another venue is I think you can download the transcription from the call, from the Zoom. Am I making that up?
That's true. Yeah, if you had
Okay.
activated the transcript would be available to you at the end. If you activate it now, the transcript from now until the end will be available to you. So if you want the transcripts available, make sure you start them at the beginning of the meetings. All right, moving on. Tanya 340 Q1, our district successfully submitted the required Sunbucks data to the state prior to the September 2nd deadline. However, immediately following this submission, our child nutrition department brought a critical detail to my attention regarding our audit process. Our data submission included approximately 3% of students who were flagged for an audit based on state eligibility guidelines. Our Child Nutrition Service Department informed me that despite several attempts, they did not receive responses from the families of these 3% of the students to clear the audit. Based on this lack of response, these students should have been excluded from the final submission to prevent them from receiving the Sunbucks EBT card. EBT cards have already been mailed to all eligible families, including those who failed the audit verification. What should I do?
So thank you, Tanya, for your ticket. Your question. Please put in an email to EDCS. I don't. Can somebody tell me the actual email address for that one? Thank you so much, Alex. She's working on it. So Tanya, put in the email to EDCS. Please, and we're going to ask you to identify those students for us. But basically, just what you stated here, that you all uploaded students that didn't meet the qualification, because we need to be able to know exactly how many students there are as well too. And then also have you already done the data corrections for those students in your subsequent files? I see you see the September 2nd deadline, but or have you put up subsequent files? If you can include that information as well too, stating where you removed those students.
All right, and it looks like Nate is writing your response as well, so I'm going to let that play out. I'm going to leave this question in place and just move down.
Can I add
Oh,
to that?
go for it.
So,
Sure.
Alex, I don't know if you have the digest still readily available. So it's important to really highlight this portion. It is very critical for Sunbucks verifications that this information is correct. And we're finding many LEAs that there's no cross-check for your data with your nutrition programs at your LEAs. So prior to your Sunbucks information going in, whatever your checks and balances process is, that should be completed at your local level prior to the file just being submitted to EDCS. And so we've been echoing this message for a few weeks now in the digest. So we strongly, strongly urge you to be able to do so correctly. This is a large financial stake. It really is.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Moving along to Alex at 344. Q1, has anyone else seen a significant drop in their Fall 1 LCFF total unduplicated FRPM/EL eligible count on the 1.17 report due to not reporting language status for TK students?
I can't answer if anyone else has seen it. Did the CDE know that this might occur? Yes, we did. But that was the bill that was amended to not, thank you, Natasha, for saying yes. But that was the bill that was amended that TK students would not be identified. They would not be tested, therefore identified as an EL student or not an EL student. We did still encourage, though, LEAs to be able to provide all children, though, language services, because to me, if you're in TK and whether your primary language is Spanish, French, even English, you are still developing your speaking and communication skills. So if you LIP programs can still be reported for those students, if so. But yes, that was a portion of the bill being passed, though. And I think we noted that in the flash. Our multilingual services noted it in their letter that's attached to the flash.
I'm sorry, Sean. Which flash was that?
It's go a little bit further down, probably to something. I think it's right before that one, so it's probably archived then now. Yes,
This 298?
I think
Or-
so. Because that was when they rolled back that, yeah. No, maybe. When did they roll back that TK students wouldn't be tested? What year was that? That wasn't last year, it was the year before then? Hold on, because there's a letter attached to that one. No, I think it's right
Okay.
before that, because that's the scenarios. And I really wish Kyron was here. Because that's information that should then go into the
285 maybe?
Okay, thank you.
I think you're right.
Yeah, but where's the letter that's attached to it? So a letter at the top. Yeah, there you go. Oh no, that's the legislator.
This is a
Yeah, there you
letter.
go. Yes. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Nate. So
All right,
yes.
so there is the interim guidance for the TK students and EL testing or EL statuses. All right, thank you for that. That was a nice exploration of all of our resources. All right, moving on to Christy at 344 Q1. Our report's refreshing slowly. Our charter LEA has not refreshed since this morning.
Not that I'm aware of. If you want to type in the school name, Chrissy, I'll take a look for you and we can circle back to you.
All right, moving down to Javier at 345 Q1. Another LEA is asking for us to adjust an enrollment record for 24-25. The student was under a suspension when he was enrolled at their LEA. In this case, would the student be hours to claim until the suspension is over, or is the new LEA able to claim them during our suspension? I think we have an FAQ on this, right? They leave
Is
early.
who the suspension belongs to. So he was under a suspension from their LEA when he was enrolled?
Yes.
He, she, them, they, I don't know.
Yeah, the initial school had him suspended. The student went to school B, enrolled during the suspension time, and school B is asking school A to adjust their enrollment so as to eliminate the CCE, it sounds like.
No, because the date of incident would have occurred while that student was enrolled with their LEA. So there's no dates to adjust the suspension.
Are they saying he was under suspension, that they didn't exit the student until after the end of the suspension?
That's what I'm
Wh-
reading it as, yes.
Which in that case,
Go for it, Nate.
the gaining district wouldn't amend their enrollment. You would have to amend yours.
That's correct. But you still report the number of suspension days. Nate's absolutely correct. And that's what I was alluding to. You would still, however, for your incident, all you're reporting is a count of days. But you would still exit, Nate's correct, you would still exit the student whenever they decided to disenroll from your LEA. And the LEA that is continuing with the student would not amend their date because that is when the student was in active attendance and enrollment with them.
All right, perfect. All right, he sends understood, so he's got it. Perfect. Thank you, Javier. Becky, 348 Q2. We have students who are supposed to return in the 25-26 school year and were assigned an E155 in the 24-25. They became a no-show this school year without knowledge of where they enrolled and were given the exit code of N470. What is the best code to assign and correct the ERD errors and no showing or error for no showing in CALPADS? This was an old flash where the N470 should only be assigned on a returning student if they had no prior association with you. So an N470 on a pre-enrollment where an E155 exists prior to that would be inappropriate. And the E140 requires a SARB to figure out where they're at would be the appropriate course of action, if I recall correctly. And again, old flash.
They,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the flashes that Paul was talking about, 132 and 134 are in the user manual. And I can put this in the chat.
That's because you rock. Thank you, Alex.
Gotta give Kyron credit too, because I love him for putting it there.
Yeah, but he's not here, so she gets all the kudos. That's what you get for missing staff meetings.
And can I also say, just sort of as a related issue, is that leaving E155s open or leaving that E155 exit code when a student no-shows the following year is problematic for it, particularly if that student is a student with disabilities. Because just remember, if you are saying that that student is going to return and for whatever reason that student becomes non-compliant in terms of their statutory meetings, meaning an annual was supposed to be held or they were supposed to be reevaluated, your district is going to be on the hook for that. So making sure that E155 is updated to the appropriate exit code from the prior year is always a good idea, because it will affect timeline compliance for students with disabilities.
Do you cover that, Brandy, with your special ed folks when you're training?
We have done it ad nauseum. Every single roadshow that Dominic's doing.
Because they put in tickets all the time. Like, why is this student on my report? You didn't exit them properly. But it's not something they're naturally inclined to go look at, right? Because they don't really care about the enrollment so much. So it's just a constant reminder.
They'll see these students show up on their 1621 reports, and Dominic has a whole section in the roadshow about 1621 and why kids might be showing up erroneously.
All right, we're going to move on. We are now 1 minute past 4, but we have one question remaining. So I ask everybody just to hang on. I'm going to steal a few seconds of your life here. With due respect, the EDCS is yet an additional task that landed on CalPADS coordinator's desk, and my understanding is that nutrition services folks are not supposed to get involved with this report, since their funding has to be strictly limited to NSLP. If Sunbucks has such a significant financial impact, maybe districts should receive additional funding for the reporting. Sorry for not really having a question, just my 2 cents worth. And it looks like Sandy Corn also gives him a preach.
So how your district manages, thank you for your question. I'm sorry, I don't know, I got removed, but thank you for your question, or thank you for your comment. CalPADS administrators can upload it. They do not have to. It can be someone else at your LEA. Those are LEA decisions. Regarding the funding of who does what, the CalPADS office, we don't have a comment for, because again, that's a local decision that's being made and disseminated out of roles and responsibilities. So that'll probably vary by LEA. Again, CalPADS didn't mandate that specifically go to the CalPADS person. We just advised that as a CalPADS data reporting person, you may be most familiar with just data reporting because that's what you're able to do. But that would be a local decision, and the funding that we're talking about the funding that I mentioned earlier had to do with families, not to the schools. And so that's where I go back to, I don't know what nutrition services fundings are, what those look like for LEAs. So I can't I can't help in that part, but maybe our either nutrition services department can, to be able to clarify some of that, and you can put in an email to them if need. But we hear your pain and your frustration. And if it is a heavy lift for people, I recommend consulting with your administrators to be able to see how they can ease that burden for you.
All right. And then Doug chimes in at the final word here saying, just remember that this affects the students and their families directly. So, it is a responsibility on us, but it does impact them financially and their well-being. So keep that in mind as well. And we have passed the hour, so I do appreciate everybody sticking around. I appreciate everybody attending the Q&A as I do every week. I always learn probably as much as you do. If you have a question before the next Q&A, put in a service desk ticket so we can get back to you as quickly as possible. Otherwise, we will see you back here next week, same time, same place, and probably a few of the same questions, but we'll see you then.